Hi guys, I'm Jeff Kim, chef co-owner of Nudibranch in the East Village. I'm here with Yes Chef to make one of our signature dishes at the restaurant. It's going to be Soba Alla Bottarga with garlic panko and uni on top. There we go. So first step, we're going to make the soba sauce. Traditionally, soba is eaten with what we call shiro dashi, and it's just going to be kind of a very simple myriad of things like soy, mirin, sake. To start, in a pot, we're going to grab some soy, some mirin, and some sake. We're going to let that heat up a little bit. We're going to burn off the sake. What that's going to do, it's going to start to infuse together, and then we're going to make a dashi. We have things like kombu, some shiitake mushrooms. Fun little trick is that we have this kind of tea bag. It's going to be like a dashi bag. If you're not able to kind of source those individual ingredients, we can get it all nice in this one pack. So this dish is incredibly special to me in that my partner's losing, jobs as line cooks in the city, and we just missed cooking. And so this dish in particular, we were all stuck at home. It was a dish that my mom loves soba. A lot of times, that's probably the one thing that we both crave all the time is specifically cold soba on a hot day like today. There's really nothing else that hits harder. And so we kind of was messing around in her kitchen at home, messing around with just soba, and we had panko. The inspiration behind it was kind of taking elements of the simplicity of Italian cuisine and Japanese cuisine. And so this is kind of a marriage between the both, using the garlic panko and different both techniques from those kind of cuisines. Now that's going, a little bit of water, some kombu. We like to call in the biz MSG, some shiitake, the flavor bomb bag, some bonito. It's crazy that we're still having this conversation on whether or not MSG is good for you or bad for you. I think there's been so much research done now where MSG is just found in so many different natural food products. It's why dry aged beef tastes the way that it does. It's why tomatoes have that kind of tomato sauce, has that kind of unctuousness. It's why roasted mushrooms taste the way that they do, and it's just a naturally occurring salt that is found, in things like kombu and things like dried shiitake mushrooms. A lot of propaganda, a lot of kind of politics get involved into why I think MSG is so-called bad or dangerous, but it's pretty safe. It's as safe for anybody as anything else, and I think there's a lot more dangerous things out there that people do, so if MSG is the thing they're worried about, I think we'll be okay. And the idea is we want to kind of reduce it down. We want the sugar in there to kind of, at the end of the process, when we cool it down, we want the sauce to kind of coat the noodles. And so what we're doing now is reducing the sauce, getting it to that point, that kind of proper viscosity. But again, we don't want it too thick, but we also want it too loose. So at this point, the dried mushrooms and a lot of the dried ingredients in here have taken on some moisture. It's been saturated. That's exactly what we're looking for. We want kind of the liquid in here to leach in and leach out. All right, so what we're gonna do now is once all of those things are married together, we're gonna strain it. Try not to spill any of it. And essentially now what we have is basically kind of anchovy, kelp, bonito tea. Next, we're gonna make garlic panko, and this is maybe the Italian part of the dish, is that I think each dish, all great dishes have some form of texture, Crunch is a good way to kind of add that layer of complexity to it, and this is kind of our way we do that in the restaurant. So we're going to heat up a pan, we've got some olive oil, a bit of butter. The Korean-Spanish kind of influence came about. I got this incredible opportunity while working to apprentice and work in Girona, Spain at Sella de Can Roca with the Roca brothers. And that opportunity, completely changed my life. It kind of opened my eyes into a different level of gastronomy. They kind of showed me what, the potential of what, kind of food and gastronomy and beverage and that marriage can do to people's lives. And so while I was living there, I couldn't help myself but find the incredible similarity between Korean eating and drinking culture and Spanish eating and drinking culture. Things like anju and pinchos and how they're the same. All right, we got our butter toasting, a little bit of those brown bits which we like to see. We're gonna start adding our panko. And again, if you don't have panko, you can use breadcrumb, use your imagination, stale bread. This, we're gonna add a little bit of onion powder. Sometimes they're made with arrowroot, sometimes they're made with other different ingredients. This is kind of one of the most popular noodles coming out of Korea, coming out of Japan. It's great, it's super versatile, and very different from like Italian pasta. Some of that starch and that starchy water help thicken the sauce. That's the exact opposite of what we want in this version of it. We want to rinse all of this. We want to rinse all the excess starches for two reasons. It's because when soba is super starchy and doesn't get rinsed, it actually becomes very gummy, which is a texture that like not really is that great. And as well as we don't want that extra starch to flavor the broth or the sauce itself. If you're Italian at home watching and rinsing noodles, it's okay. We're all gonna be good. You can see all of kind of those starches kind of start coming out. I think pop-ups have now kind of really risen, and I think that's due to COVID, right? It's like people who didn't have maybe access to their kitchens or the restaurants they were at need to find elsewhere to find that kind of solace, that feeling of home that we love and why we go to restaurants and why I love restaurants. The biggest difference is, you know, pop-ups are pop-ups. I love that the energy is very raw. It's kind of just a playground where you can kind of test ingredients, where you can test dishes, kind of really push the limits to kind of maybe finding and kind of structuring a menu around that. We like having that flexibility because it allows us to stay creative. We don't want like these labels or these things to kind of put us in this box where if we come up with a really good dish and it doesn't happen to have, you know, all of the kind of check all the boxes of what, you know, Korean Spanish is, as long as it, you know, it tastes good and it has, you know, it speaks from the heart, there's a lot of intent behind it, I think that's ultimately what matters. So have that little two-submiss trick at home. You kind of want it, if you think it needs a little, like 1 more minute, it's probably done, because what that'll do, the heat will carry over in cooking. So what we're gonna do now is move this over. My career, I started busting tables at Momofuku Summer. I was working actually a corporate job, and then kind of remembered, you know, I love cooking, I love these things that bring people together, and so ended up kind of transitioning, going into culinary school, having kind of a very classic French culinary school training, and then ended up working at, you know, a lot of, you know, great restaurants in the city, like Massa Park, Adoboy, Jua. I met Matt at Jua, Korean restaurant in Flatiron. It's fantastic. So if you trick it home, if you're cutting chives, you want to wrap it in a paper towel like this, kind of grasp it all together. With the chives you're going to do, it's going to add a little bit of color, it's going to add a little bit of kind of crunch, a little bit of that alliumness. It's really beautiful. Sometimes it's dipped and aged in beeswax, which is kind of a pain in the ass to get out, but it kind of protects kind of the roe on the inside. If Bottarga is not able to be found, again, you guys can use like cured egg yolks at home and shave those. These come in also pre-dried. Ideally, you want to get them whole. You want to keep it as fresh as possible so that you can shave it yourself, but if not, life will go on. To this, we're gonna add the soba, we're gonna add a little bit of sesame. We're gonna add some of these chives. Salt it a little bit. Got our soba sauce that's been chilling from before. A little bit here. So in the restaurant, we twirl it in the bowl, drip off some of the excess. Again, we just want enough dressing or enough sauce to just coat it. We don't want it to be kind of too saucy, just saucy enough. Our garlic panko. Cheese some Bottarga. We're just gonna add some of that, a little bit of luxury on top. That's it, and our soba. Yeah, it's great.